So I wanted to make a video about really breaking down how everything in the universe is all the basic constructs of the fundamental creation of reality is all the same from the top to bottom. So you can think of it like this. So like we're all made up of atoms, which has a nucleus in the center, protons and neutrons with electrons circling around it. Now, each atom that makes up every piece of matter in this reality is 99.99 empty space. So to put that in perspective, if a basketball was a nucleus, 20 miles in all direction is how much empty space. But actually, it's actually not empty space. It's actually just, it seems as if it's empty because it's actually in a vibrational dimensional frequency that's higher, so it makes it hard to see, which is the same reason why, 94% of the universe is dark matter. But in all reality, there's plenty of things that are occupying it, but it's just at higher dimensional levels of frequency. And so you have the atom, electrons that spin around the nucleus. You have the solar system, planets spinning around the sun. You have the galaxy, which is all these different galaxies are spinning around the central sun of the universe. And then you have the universe, which is spinning around the central motherverse in the multiverse. And so it's almost like the atoms make up us, and we are the atoms of the universe and the multiverse. And so to put that in perspective is how we're all united as one, is that we have all these different cells that are making up our body, and all these different cells are working together. But on a cellular level, they may not know. The cell to cell, they see separation. But the reality is they're all one of my human form. And what we are is actually cells of the solar system, universe, and multiverse, all collectively working together, even though it seems separate. It's one energetic field. So in the beginning, whether you want to call it source, God, whatever you want to call it, it is one universal of light. In the beginning, there was, the word light, however it's worded. And so what I believe is it's actually a sphere of light encompassing source. And through that, you have what happens is in the descension process is fragmentation that separates, almost like mitosis in the conception of a human being. There's one sphere, and then mitosis starts to happen, and it starts to separate into eventually you have a baby. And so in the descension process, believe that the descension descended into our 7 archangels. And that directly correlates with the 7 chakras that are in our visible body. Now, in the Kabbalah, they actually, which is Jewish mysticism, and they talk about like the tree of life, the flower of life, all those different things like that. They actually say there's 12 archangels. And so there's actually 12 chakras. And so we have 7 in our body, and then 5 others that are, in our light body. And so once the ascension happens, those other chakras are going to come online. Now, what's funny about that is you have the 12 archangels in the Kabbalah. You have the 12 and then the 12 disciples of Jesus. There's a funny reason why you picked the number 12. And then to actually conceive a child, it takes up to 12 sperm cells to actually penetrate the egg. Now, only one gets in, but it makes it virtually impossible to have conception in a normal way unless 12 sperm come together and one of them is able to penetrate the egg. Now, the funny thing about this reality is that there's, been allegedly many sons of gods that have came to the world. For instance, like Krishna, which you can think of as like the Hindu Jesus, had 12 disciples. Dionysus, who is a Greek god, had 12 disciples. And so that number 12 keeps showing up time and time again. So I just think that's very unique, and how we allegedly have 12 chakras that after the ascension happens, those other chakras are going to come along. And so as the descension process from light in down through the lower you go in dimensions, the more material you become, or in denser, or the more matter. And so, for instance, like, in the fifth dimension, you're going to be more light than solid, and the higher you go up and the higher you go down is the more dense. And so we're here in this three-dimensional, or, as I believe, are pretty much anchored in the fourth dimension realm. So we are at the lowest level of dimensional existence for humanoid species. And so and something dawned on me. I actually got a download today, and I was just kind of thinking to myself. I was like, in the Bible it says about the Word, and the Word can also be personified as the breath. So actually, as you're descending from source, that's why God says we're all made in God's likeness. Descending from source all the way down to the third dimension would be the exhale, kind of like in meditation. And the ascension to higher dimensional frequencies would be the inhale. And so, I often wondered, what was the initial purpose of meditation? And of course, it loses stress and anxiety. It gets you more in contact with yourself and your higher self and God and all those different things like that. But the actual descension into dense matter and the ascension into light is the same as meditation, where you have the exhale of the breath and the inhale of the breath ascending. So literally the creation of life is literally God or source meditating in a meditative breath creation into reality. And so that is why meditation is so important, because it's connecting you to the universal life source of God or source in the same way that he or she, divine masculine and divine feminine, has created reality, and how we are going to be ascending back, to higher dimensional levels, becoming more light, and then, eventually making our way back to source. So I just thought that was, pretty unique. What's crazy too is that, sacred geometry literally is a fundamental principle of the creation of reality too. And what's funny is when you look at the mitosis of the conception of a person or a human being, it actually creates a star tetrahedron, and also at some points, before that, like the tree of life. And so our light body is actually a sacred geometrical figure of the star tetrahedron, which, of course, they call it the Merkabah and the Kabbalah. And that is actually the vehicle that's used, your light body, to travel in different dimensional levels. And so, quantum physics has already proven that there's multiple different dimensions, and they're in frequencies that we can't see. You can think of it like this. Cats visually are able to pick up on different frequencies that us as humans can't see. And so that's kind of the same process of trying to understand different dimensions, is that once we all reach a critical mass of enough of us doing the work, doing the inner work, working on our shadow, integrating and transcending our light and darkness into one, so it's no longer a duality, because in higher dimensional levels it's about unity and loving consciousness. So once enough of us are doing the work, it's going to be like a ripple effect that's going to affect the collective quantum wave to cause the actual ascension of this reality to bringing a new heaven on earth, which is what the ancient prophecies and everything has, from all different walks of life all over the world, all different religions, have talked about. Is that, we're not actually going to heaven, we're actually bringing heaven on earth. And when the ascension happens, it's going to be such a beautiful coexistence of all life forms on earth collectively working together, living out of love. And I'm just down for the ride. So I hope you have a happy Thanksgiving, and I hope this helps to understand not only the creation of reality, but also how the descension into life and the ascension into light works. And if anybody ever has any questions, it doesn't matter if we've been friends for a long time, or if we've never met and we never talked and just randomly we were just at it on social media. My goal is to be a vessel to help people understand what's actually what's happening through this transformational process. And I would love to learn from you and your experiences. So always remain humble and teachable. And I hope you have a blessed weekend.